to go. And if there we go. All right. Welcome to Believe in the Journey podcast, where I'm your host, Triveda Harris. Tonight, we will be talking to phenomenal coach Rachel L. Gary. And when I tell you this woman is truly amazing, she is all about being the CEO of your own life. And most of us are still hiding in the shadows of being the CEO of our own lives. And Rachel is going to show us how we get to that point. And I promise you, you don't want to miss these intellectual nuggets that she has for us on getting on track on being the CEOs of our own lives. Now, before I bring her up, the only thing we got to do first and foremost is go to God in prayer. Because if we don't go to Him first, that means we are not acknowledging Him and thanking Him for what He's brought us through. So, dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together as you do each and every time we're in front of you. Let the words of our mouths tonight fall upon the ears that need to hear. Let the words that they hear be the milestones and the bricklayers of what they need to get off the couch, get out of their comfort zone, and get out of their way and get out of your way, and let them walk into the purpose of which you have called them to do. Everything that we say tonight is going to be something that someone can use to become the CEO of their lives and letting go of the fears. So, God, we thank you for bringing us here. Let the words of our mouths fall upon the ears that need to hear. In your precious and holy name, amen. Now,
Amen.
Miss Rachel, listen. I want you to introduce yourself as well. I know I gave you a small introduction, but I would like for you to introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about you. And then we're going to get into the conversation of the evening.
All right. Hey, I am first. I want to say thank you very much, Richard Rita, for having me today on your show. It is
Of
definitely
course.
a pleasure. As I was saying behind stage, it was a pleasure to meet you in person when I was in Atlanta. You are a phenomenal individual, and I feel honored to be able to share this opportunity with you tonight. And to all you CEOs out there, as she said, I am Rachel L. Gary. And what I do is just remind people of who you are looking to be. And the CEO that she's talking about is that person that is clearing your actions, empowered by your choices, and owning your direction. So you can fully step into being the CEO of your life.
Yeah, I like that. Most people are fearful about taking the initiative to step into what it is that they've been called to do. What is
Mm.
something that helped you to get to where you started being the CEO of your own life? What was something that was pivotal that helped you to get there?
I, I appreciate the question, Tarita. What started my journey to being the CEO of my life was taking stock of where my life was
Okay.
and where I wanted my life to be. When
Mhm.
I took, hey, I'm gonna take it back a little bit. This is gonna age me,
Hey.
but that's okay. So it was in 2004. I was sitting on my sister-in-law's couch.
Okay.
My kids were sleeping on an air mattress.
Okay.
We were homeless, but in a home where where we were definitely okay to be. However, it wasn't our own.
Okay.
I went on a porch and had a real conversation with myself in January. How about this, guys? January in Chicago. I sat on
Ooh.
the porch for over an hour. It was when I first went outside, it was 20 degrees. We're not gonna factor in the windshield.
Okay.
So by the end of that, an hour or two later, I had written down everything that had gotten me there.
Okay.
So I could understand where it fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, what I really realized was I had I wrote it all down, but I couldn't understand where I wanted to be.
Okay.
So that day is when I made a decision of who Rachel L. Gary was going to become to be able to have more clarity in my life and being able to empower myself with the clarity and own everything after that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was the pivotal moment, January 2004, when I was like, enough. is enough.
And I tell people all the time when I hear people, they constantly say, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that. You're never tired until you put actions behind being tired. Because when you want something to change, you'll actually do what's necessary to change it. And one thing for me, I can say is that I do a self inventory. And this was something I started after my husband and I, my ex husband now, separated. I needed to figure out who I was again, because being married, I was a wife, I was a mom, I was everything to everybody else, but I lost track of who I was. So I had to
Mhm.
go and learn how to be Triveda again. And so when I had to do that self inventory, when I tell you it was hard to do because I had to let go of the idea of what everybody else thought I was and everything that everybody wanted me to be to get to the core of what I needed. And I think that's a good thing for people to, even when they are ready to start, that they can write that list down. And writing that list down definitely helps. What is something that you would tell someone if they're ready to become the CEO of their life? What is one thing that they can do today?
Take stock of where you are, and,
Mm-hmm.
and be true, very similar to what Trevita said, to who you want to become. And
Mm-hmm.
and this is probably the hardest thing because we all live in a facade of
Yeah.
what someone wants from us, or the things that we will go from the job that we have to how we show up for our family members, and how we show up
Mm-hmm.
for our friends, and how we show up for a relationship. Those,
Yeah.
a lot of people say, well, I'm a different person in all of those, in those arenas. That to me, and as I said, I'm not here to judge. I don't believe in judging. I just believe
Mm-hmm.
in clarifying a message that I've lived through.
Yeah.
When you feel authentically connected to who you are and
Yeah.
where you want to go, then all of the other limiting things, they go by the waistline.
Yeah.
So like what Charita just said, where she had to find who she was. It's
Mm-hmm.
when once you discover who you are, or even if you're not that person yet, but as you're gradually as you know that who you want to become, because on that front porch, I said I wanted to become one thing, a person my children could be proud of.
Absolutely.
I didn't say a parent, I said a person.
Exactly.
And that meant that I gave myself some laws, guys. It was some laws I had to live by to be a
Yeah.
person that they were proud of. The very first thing was to be integritous.
Mm-hmm.
And having integrity is about what you're doing when no one's watching. So
Exactly.
so when you think of it that way, Travita, who do you have to be honest with?
You gotta be honest with yourself first.
You.
Yeah.
And and
Absolutely.
and it's sometimes for a lot of people, what I've noticed is probably the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Because you are we're lying about our age, we're lying about we're lying about our career, we're lying about what kind of car we're driving, we're lying about, I mean, I'm not this is not saying that anyone personally, I'm saying, but
Right.
small, we're lying about the commitment of just taking out garbage on an everyday basis.
Exactly.
So the
Yeah.
first thing that I would say is that I offer a free 7-day challenge. And the
Okay.
every month we do a challenge, but
Okay.
the first month is free. And the
Okay.
free 7-day challenge that I offer starts off with building integrity. Not integrity in in my sense, but
Mhm.
integrity in believing in you. Because
Okay.
you can't accomplish any goals. You can't set any goals if you can't trust the words that you say to you.
Exactly.
Have you guys ever
Exactly.
heard this? Have you ever heard this? And Teresa, I want you to chime in and let me know. Have you ever heard that we think and spend more time subconsciously than conscious in our lives? So if we're thinking subconsciously more often, that means it doesn't matter what you're saying consciously. It
Right.
matters what you're thinking subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
if you said, okay, I'm gonna take the garbage out when I get home from work, but then you get home from work and say, man, I'm too tired to take the garbage out. Now
Yeah.
you've given yourself an excuse not to do what you said you were gonna do for you.
Yep.
It
And
seems minor. It seems minor, but we
it
tell these
does.
little white lies all the time. I'll use myself today, for instance. My youngest came into town today.
Okay.
And they just left like 15 minutes ago. So, well, 30 minutes ago. They left right before we jumped on. And
Okay.
I had told my wife there were some things I was going to do. Now,
Okay.
I woke up this morning with a toothache.
Oh.
So now we're gonna talk about the excuses I could have given for what I
Okay.
was. Okay, my tooth was hurting. I had a headache because my tooth was hurting. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I couldn't eat yet because I couldn't eat anything to take some type of a medication for my tooth. Um,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. Now, let me tell you what I did.
Okay.
What I did was I went, I ate a little piece of something, very, very small, because you know when your tooth hurt, you don't want to eat nothing, you don't even want to breathe hardly. So
Right.
I had cotton in my ears to keep the air from coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Then I took a pain pill. Now, I sat on the couch. I told her, give me 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to lay on the couch and do the things I said I was going to do. Because the biggest thing to me was
Mm-hmm.
my word.
Right.
My
Right.
word is golden.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
people can rely on what I say. And I can rely on what I say. I told her I was going to
Exactly.
do some things. I did exactly what I told her I was going to do. And I was in pain all up until about an hour, but like about 15 minutes before they walked in the door. The pain pill had finally kicked in. I
Yeah.
rarely take medication. I mean, for me to take any kind of pain medication, I am in excruciating
In
pain.
pain.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's no, okay, this is a slight. No, it's a almost incapacitating. I can't do
Yeah.
anything. But when I said I was going to do something, I did just that. And
And
now, now, let's say I had still been feeling bad. I still wouldn't. I still would have made it right here, right now, because I told Triveda I was going to be there.
And see, I understand that and I agree with that wholeheartedly, simply because I tell people all the time there's a difference between excuses and reasons. Reasons will prevent you from doing something. Excuses is something that you make up that you just don't want to do it. And I'd rather a person tell me they just don't want to do it than to basically make up something and say, okay, you know what, this is what it is. But I'm gonna say this about myself. This is like I deal with Chiari malformation. It's a serious neurological condition. It's a brain condition, and I have severe headaches all the time. So if you've ever had a migraine headache, multiply that by 10, and it has a burning sensation at the base of my neck and my shoulders. So I'm usually in pain a lot of the times. Most people don't ever know because I've been able to maneuver through it. Now,
Mm,
with that being said, before I got to the space to where I'm at now, and I can function in a way that nobody ever knows how much pain I'm really in, is by I got tired of hearing myself talk about how much pain I was in. And
mm,
so when I got tired of hearing myself, when someone would ask, "How you feeling? How you doing?" I'd be like, "Man, my head hurts. I don't feel good. I can't do this. I can't do that." And one day I was getting ready to say that to somebody when they asked me how I was doing. And I just simply said, "I'm good." Even though I
mm,
wasn't, and it was just like after that, I began to tell myself how good I was outside of the pain I was feeling. And
mm,
so it was like, okay, yeah, you're in a lot of pain, but you don't have to voice that to everybody because everybody doesn't want to know just how much pain you're in. And not everybody's going to be understanding. And not everybody's going to be sympathetic to you saying it. And you're probably getting on people's nerves also by telling that you in pain. And they tired of hearing it just like you're tired of saying it. So I stopped saying it because I got tired of hearing it. And so
mm,
since I got tired of hearing it, it was like, okay, well, what else can I do in the place of not feeling well? So I started telling myself, oh, I feel good today. Now, if I'm in really excruciating pain, then yeah, I'm going to tell you because number one, I'm not going to be able to hide it when I'm in that intense of a pain episode because it's going to show. Like right now, my face is on fire because
mm.
it is summer. But it's not going to stop me from doing what I need to do. I was in a virtual monologue a couple years ago, and I woke up in excruciating pain due to my Chiari. And I knew that there wasn't an understudy for me. There wasn't anybody who could take my place. And I'm like, I have to help everyone else, because my part is major for this virtual monologue. I have to show up regardless of how much pain I'm in. And so I told the ladies, I'm not feeling well, but don't count me out. I'll do what I need to do. When the camera came on me, no one knew I was in excruciating pain. You could not tell. I did not look like it. I did not move like it. And that's one thing, like I tell my kids all the time, if you want to actually be better at something, the dialogue that you have with yourself is the most important dialogue you'll ever have. Because if you tell yourself that you can't do something, then guess what? You're not going to be able to do it. If you tell yourself this right here, what you're thinking about is going to fail, then it's going to fail. But you can't
Absolutely.
ever fail at anything if you don't actually get up and get started. You got to get to the starting line to get to the finish line. It's not going to be easy to get to the finish line. You're going to run into some obstacles. You're going to run into some detours. But as long as the plan is to get to the finish line, you got to do what is necessary. And I ask people all the time, how bad do you want the thing that you talk about?
Say it again. Say it together one more time, Triveda. It's a phrase that I use. Like
Yeah.
when I find myself, let's say everyone has a moment of doubt, and
Yes.
everyone has that moment of man. I hit a brick. You hit a brick wall. I
Yes.
ask myself the question: how bad do you want what you
Yes.
said you were moving towards? How bad do you
Exactly.
want it? And I'm not, and I want to say this part. I'm not saying that to minimize that sometimes it's a lot of things that have to be done. However,
Yes.
what I notice is that when I take them one focused thing at a
Mhm.
time, I want to repeat that one
Yes.
focused thing at
Yes.
a time, then I accomplish my goals.
Yes.
When you're taking on 10 things, you're unfocused, and scattered thoughts do not hit targets.
Nope. They do
So
not. Say that one more time. Say that
no,
one
no.
again.
No, I really mean it because scattered thoughts don't hit targets.
No.
If we have been fed a myth, and I want to say
Mhm.
it right here, we've been
Yeah.
fed a myth that you can multitask. Let me explain. Nothing or no one multitasks. That includes a computer. That includes people. We don't
Exactly.
multitask. We stop one task to start another.
Exactly.
Because when you're doing a
Exactly.
task, you're consciously doing them. Now, subconscious things, they might be going on in the background. Like when we walk and talk, those are two different parts of our brain that are working. They're
Mhm.
not the same parts of our brain.
Right.
So that simulates as if you can do two things at once.
Mhm.
However, when you're formulating thoughts or you're
Mhm.
formulating a plan, if you're formulating a plan here and a plan here, one plan has to stop to start another.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so that's why I say with focused intentions, you move to your goals. And I take everything one step at a time because I know personally that one thing with focus, all your energy behind what you're doing, one thing, you
Mm.
always achieve it.
Yeah.
You
I
always
agree
achieve
with that. I tell my kids all the time, like when I got ready to go back to school, now I was a little hesitant on doing that because I've been out of school for 19 years. And once I started that journey, I would tell myself, like, when they put me in the math class, I was like, listen, I don't know anything about this. Math is not my thing. I know numbers and I know my money, but anything else that when you start adding the letters and stuff in there, you don't lost me. Word
it.
problems, listen, that ain't my thing. And so I would have my children, my boys, check my math homework behind me. And they were like, why are we checking this? You're good at this. And I was like, no, I'm not. And they were like, every time you bring me your homework to check, you have the correct answers. So I need you to stop bothering me with this because you are good at this. And I was like, well, I guess I am. But I never thought about it because for me, I always sucked at math. But I had a good teacher while I was in college who broke it down to me in a way that I got it, but past had always told me I was bad at math. So I had to get used to a new norm of knowing that I was good at something that I thought I was bad at. How do you direct people to let go of a past moment that they felt defined them that no longer defines them?
First, I want to. I love the statement that came before it, and how because it goes to limiting belief, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're talking about. We hold ourselves back from a limiting belief. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we limit our thoughts, we limit our actions, and we limit our possibilities. So
Mm-hmm.
how when I'm talking to individuals about changing the limiting belief,
Mm-hmm.
it's you have to let go of things that have happened. You cannot change the past. So
Mm-hmm.
what you can do is you can remember that over time you grow.
Right.
And as you grow and those number problems, you are at a different mind frame 19 years ago than you are
Mm-hmm.
today.
Right.
You had 8 to 9 classes that you were doing, and usually in college you're doing 2 to 3,
Right.
and you have
Mm-hmm.
more time with those counselors. And I mean that's just with that particular situation, but in general, as you are growing, you're going to grow a new sense of whom you are. So
Right.
when you start hearing things that are limiting you, you have to ask yourself, this is something I use, it's called fadar. You
Okay.
have to focus on whatever it is, acknowledge whatever happened has happened,
Mm-hmm.
debunk it, debunk that it has any relevance on your current situation, elevate
Mm-hmm.
above it, and reprogram your mind by saying that I am the best at, or speak it into existence. Which I'll use a phrase, for instance. Let's say, like right now, I am on the mission of selling 5,000 copies of hashtag poverty to six figures.
Okay.
And to do that, I've never sold 5,000 books.
Okay.
So I can say to myself, hey, I never sold 5,000 books. I know nothing about it. So let me say what I said. I am looking into the methods and speaking to people who are able to help me elevate to sell 5,000 copies of hashtag poverty to six figures. There's
Okay.
no limit in there.
Okay.
So the reprogram is something you have to tell yourself, because as you constantly tell yourself, your subconscious mind is going
Mm-hmm.
to keep hold of you. You've already done it,
Yeah.
and your reality is going to move you towards it.
Yeah.
So just like Triveda was saying, good or bad, whatever you tell yourself is going to come to fruition.
Mhm.
You
It
are the
will.
you are the person who is navigating. You are the GPS for you.
Exactly.
So if you're the GPS for you, you give yourself instructions. I gave myself instructions that I'm selling 5,000 books in 6 months. Now, since I made that declaration when my book came out on June 17th, I've met people who've sold millions of copies of books,
Okay.
of a book, not multiple books, of a book. I
Okay.
joined a mastermind of people who have sold 100,000 to 1 million copies of a book.
Okay.
Now, reason being is because if I'm looking to do something,
You got to connect with the
you
people
have
that
to
have
connect
done
with
it.
people who have done it
Yeah.
plus some, because
Exactly.
they're gonna drop information like one of the ladies that was in the mastermind. She made one reference of something that was so small, it was so minute, it was something you would overlook. She said,
Okay.
so she said, okay, you're trying to sell this number of books. How many number of books you want to sell per month? Break it down. She said, what
Mhm.
activities are we going to do? She said, so these are the activities I did. So she gave me a list of activities she did to sell 100,000 copies. She's the person who sold 1 million copies of her book, and is on Oprah's list of
Best
books.
sold. Okay.
So she was explaining how she did it,
Okay.
and the biggest thing was her small piece of information. She said, every time you see somebody, you're selling books. Every time you talk to somebody, you're selling books. She said, yes, you are a leadership coach, but you are a leadership coach who's selling a book. that involves leadership. She said, you're not talking, thinking, or being anything else but a leadership coach who sells books. Sell books. You're selling books. You're selling books. You're selling books. She said, because if you're telling yourself every day you're selling books, every time you see somebody, you're offering a book. Every time you discuss something with somebody, you're talking about your book. She said, you want to be the expert in your book. She said, every chapter, what's in that chapter, you should know.
Yeah.
She said, read a piece of your book every day. She said, and your content should match it, period.
That
That was
makes sense.
now I got a question. How hard was any what she said? It wasn't.
Nothing. Mm-mm.
None
You
of it
were
was
already doing it.
already making content every day.
Yeah, you
So
were already doing it.
but but the strategy that she was speaking of was what was missing.
The
Now,
fine tuning basically is what was
correct,
necessary. And I
correct.
think a lot of people, even myself, I'm in the space of fine tuning everything that I do. With my publishing business, with the podcast, with helping my clients, and just everything else that I've been a part of. And I did my very first book signing last weekend. And
Congratulations.
thank you. It was amazing. I mean, I'm still in awe, and I've been trying to put into words how to express that, and I can't because my heart is still so full from the experience itself. Now, I had Mr. Edward ask me a question at the event, and I've been pondering that one question for a minute, even though I was able to answer it, but I still have to ponder upon it simply because it's a profound question. And the question he asked me was, why was that my very first book signing when I've written 6 books and I've been a co-author in 6 other books? And my response simply was this: because I'm in a the healing stage and learning to celebrate myself. I've never been in a space to do that. And so that is part of it. It was also a celebration for my mom. It was the 2-year anniversary. Well, not necessarily anniversary, but it's been 2 years since my mom passed. And last Saturday, it would have been her 66th birthday. So, and I wrote the book in honor of her, and everything that centered around it was centered around that and to celebrate her and not just to make it a sad moment.
Awesome. So
But
you really took a negative to make it a positive, and
exactly.
awesome. That's awesome. Sorry, I'm sorry to
Exactly. No, you're fine. You're fine. But that question he asked me was simply, why did it take so long for me to do that? And as I explained to him, I have never been in the space of celebrating self because I was always told as a little child that I was only going to be a drunk and an alcohol and a drunk and a drug addict, just like my mother. And so everything that the family that raised me, my aunts, they would consistently tell me that those were my only options, that I wasn't going to graduate high school, that I wasn't going to do this, and that I wasn't going to do that. And so I got in the habit of, okay, you telling me I'm not going to do something. Let me go ahead and do it and prove you wrong. So I got into the habit of proving people wrong when they tell me I can't do something.
I know
And
that's
so
step
so
into
I
it, Pravita. Step
right, you
into
tell
it.
me I can't do it, so
Let
now
me
I
show
gotta
you.
do it.
Let me
And
show you.
now yes. And so I got so used to doing that. So it's like, okay, I did that. What's next? So I got criticized for writing my first poetry book because it didn't look right. It wasn't professionally done, but I wasn't looking for that. I was also being obedient to what God was telling me to do. My best friend had came and said, you need to write your book. You do this poetry all the time. And I would tell her, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do it one day. And then my son told me I wasn't allowed to leave my bedroom. I had to get this done. And so I did. And I was like, God, if this is meant to be, if this is the journey that you want me on, then this book will get accepted. And so the book got accepted on Amazon, and I was like, okay, it looks like crap. And it did. I mean, it had all kind of different fonts in it. It had all kind of different. I mean, it just looked a hot mess. However, if I had taken what every critic had to say about me, I wouldn't be where I am today because I would have listened to them. But my whole thing has always been what is my assignment is my assignment. It doesn't belong to anybody else. And I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And
Mm.
so I've been able to do all my editing, do all my formatting, do all of these things and teach myself because I'm a stroke survivor. I also had Chiari malformation. I've had to learn how to walk and talk twice. And so going from all of those things to where I am now, being connected to people who are like-minded individuals who are on the road to doing something better, just like you said in the beginning, you wanted your kids to have someone that they could look up to and model after. And that was one of the things that I told myself is that I want to make sure that my children are happy and are grateful to even mention my name in spaces. Whereas myself growing up, I was embarrassed by my mom. I didn't want nobody to even know who my mom was until I got older. And the difference with that was I had to take the mom title off of my mother and look at her as an individual and look at her life and look at her as a person and then realize that she went through some things in life that took her down a path and her journey was never my journey, but I had to get to know her as a person and not just my mom. And when I was able to do that, it helped me in so many ways. And I've been connected to so many people. And I've been in rooms that my family told me I would never even be a part of. And so I've been in spaces where I've had to fight back tears simply because the little girl that they told me was never going to be in those rooms or walking in spaces where now people know who I am before I even know who they are, you know?
Right.
And I'm grateful for that. And I'm like we talked about in the beginning, I'm not a trend follower. I am authentically who I am. I'm not anything that I'm not supposed to be and I will never pretend to be. So when people say, "Well, they said this about you, they said that about you," okay, that's fine. You know, whatever somebody decides that they want to say about me, that doesn't necessarily mean that I am that person. And one thing I am big on, I don't care what people call me. It's what I choose to answer to, is what I'm always going to answer to. And do you have a point where what you would consider a breaking point with working with someone in a sense of um I would say lack of drive and lack of respect for self because it self-respect comes to play in a lot of things and there's so many spaces now where I see people lack self-respect that keeps them doing stuff that makes absolutely no sense, you know. I don't know, it's just certain things that I'm like, I think more of myself to even put myself in places and spaces to where it's not going to be beneficial in the long run. Do you have something like that that you feel for yourself that you just not going to put yourself in a space to where people were going to look at you like, how could she do something like that?
Well, I will say this first, Triveda. Triveda, the biggest thing is that I applaud all of your discipline. I applaud all of your not allowing people to tell you who you are and you stepping into being Triveda Harris and not
Yeah.
concerned with what anyone else was thinking, saying, or how they felt about what you were going to do for your purpose in life. So that
Thank
I definitely want to applaud that moment.
Thank you.
I always respect as well as celebrate growth and celebrate excellence. And that is an excellent statement, an excellent mindset. Now,
Thank
to the question that was asked. Now, for me personally, I am a firm believer in being authentically who I am.
you.
I
Hmm.
do, I have, for me, self care is really about boundaries,
Hmm.
setting clear boundaries with me. And that allows me to set clear boundaries with people external of myself. So
Hmm.
I don't put myself in spaces or places that don't align with me.
Exactly.
So, and I'll say this: like I'm a person who I don't drink, never drink. Let's take it this. We're not gonna take it like I stopped drinking yesterday. I've had 2 drinks my whole life.
Okay. Okay.
And one of those drinks, I don't even remember what happened. And it was on.
Oh Lord.
So I'm not a drinker. One, I don't drink, I don't drink because I don't like the smell of alcohol.
Okay.
So by me not liking the smell of it, I don't do things as if I want to say this. Why I don't believe in being a trendsetter. I mean, being part of the trend. Because
Hmm.
the people who are unique make the trend.
Exactly.
So I consider myself a trendsetter.
Better. Yes.
So if I'm a trendsetter, I can't follow
The
other people's
trends.
trend. What I can do
Exactly.
is look at information and see how that connects to where I'm trying to go in the future.
Exactly.
Like I was speaking about the lady when she made this simple statement, her simple statement already aligns with what I'm doing. She's just refocusing how I do it.
Exactly.
So as far as places and spaces, I I tend right now I'm on a radio. I have a radio show called Wake Up
Hmm.
CEO. It's on my radio Chicago. Phenomenal
Okay.
radio station. They do their but most of the interviews are about like a lot of hip hop, R&B, I'll say trap music type things. It's not
Okay.
my so on
Okay.
my show, out of all of the shows, I have had one guest that is actually has anything to do with music because
Okay.
my show is about building the community around the individuals that are in the community and
Okay.
utilizing the people in those communities so we can have more control over things that our money, our
Hmm.
finances, our places that we live. So
Hmm.
my whole show is about waking up the person that's inside of you so you can be able to purchase property in those neighborhoods that we complain about. How to
Hmm.
how to make changes in those neighborhoods we complain about, how to
Hmm.
actually learn conflict resolution. Because if you learn conflict resolution, you can teach your kids conflict resolution, which stops all the gun violence in our streets.
Exactly.
So I want to remind people that we have control over those things. So
Yeah.
my self-care of setting those clear boundaries allow me not to be in spaces or places that don't resonate with what Rachel L. Gary stands for. What I stand for is all aligned with who I am. I'm talking leadership if I'm on a bus, a plane, a train, in my car, walking down the street. I am who I am 24/7, 7 days a week. This isn't new. Now, what I'll say to this point, this one small piece that once I was aligned with who Rachel L. Gary was, once I was about the life in which I was ready to lead,
Mhm.
I had a moment, a touching moment. My youngest wrote the intro to my course. So when
Okay.
people enter my course, the first page is a letter from my youngest to the actual participants in the program.
Okay.
It was unsolicited in the fact of how to write it. It was not revised.
Mhm.
How they presented it is how it's there. When
Okay.
I read it, I'm not a crier. I got to be honest. I'm not an emotional type person. I'm a very factual person. It's just me, Triveda. It's just me.
It's
Very,
okay.
very factual. When I read it, it brought a tear to my eye, and that's why I had to preface that I'm not an emotional person in that way. But
Hmm.
when I read it, I knew I had done what I set out to 20 years ago when I was sitting on a porch trying to figure out how I was going to get my kids off of a couch when I was only making $7 an hour and couldn't even afford to pay rent somewhere.
Hmm.
So that is how I stay out of the spaces and places that don't make sense, and how all of my journey comes full circle when my, at the point in time, 6-year-old child was sitting there on the air mattress having fun with her cousins, had no idea we was even homeless. They were just playing, to the
Hmm.
27-year-old child who wrote a letter, and it resonated with, I had done exactly what I set out to do.
And see that brings me to the point that I tell people, and when I first said this 2 years ago, people laughed at me and didn't understand what I meant. I'm not in spaces and places where I don't belong simply because I tell people if God didn't put it on my calendar, I'm not supposed to be there because I'm
Yes,
only going to be in spaces where He directs me. So if you don't see me, because you get asked the question, well, where you be hiding it? I'm not hiding anywhere. I'm where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there.
yes,
So
yes.
you're not going to see me in spaces where I'm not supposed to be. And so when I said that, they laughed at me and told me I was crazy. I said, you can call it crazy if you want to, but I'm never going to be in spaces where God hasn't called me to be. And each and every person that I've had the pleasure of doing Believe in the Journey with as guests or otherwise, it all brings confirmation to me that I am on the path that God has me to be on.
Yes, ma'am.
What is one piece of advice that you would leave them with tonight on how they can actually step back from fear and step into becoming the CEO of their own lives? And how can they get in touch with you? Because they're definitely going to be reaching out for all of these nuggets that you shared with us tonight.
I would say first, fear from my favorite inspirational leader is Lisa Nichols. Fear is fake evidence appearing
You're
real.
real. Yep.
Because A, when you are afraid, you're afraid of an event that has not even happened yet. You are afraid of something that has happened in the past. You
Mm-hmm.
must relinquish. I want to say this: you are going to fail.
Yes.
Prepare,
Yes.
prepare, prepare, prepare. You're going to fail. What you do after the failure is what makes you great. Because
Exactly.
you're gonna fail. Because I have a lesson. There's two things that happen in life. With every blessing, I'm either winning or I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
There's no failure in that. And failure is an event. It's not a lifestyle.
Failure is a lesson. You
To
gotta
take
fail.
you failure means you're moving forward towards progress.
Yep.
So be prepared that you will fail. And don't and the biggest thing is for being, as we were saying about fear. Fear can can cripple you. But
Mm-hmm.
if you know that you are who you say you are, the first thing is being who you authentically are. Take a stock of you. Start
Yes.
there. And as you move forward, you're going to prepare yourself for the challenges that are going to come your way. See, I'm going to
Mhm.
speak to you about fact. I'm a candid individual because I'm not going to speak to you in the fact of nothing's going to happen. As you step forward, the path will lay out. It will not. It will
Mm-mm.
not.
Nope.
What will happen is a challenge will happen. Are you
Mm-hmm.
going to rise to it or back down from it? That is when you are
Absolutely.
lining up with whom you are. When you are clear, that is why you are the CEO, because you're going to be clear when you step forward. That's why we're going to take stock of who you are. Take stock of who you are and who you're becoming.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know that you're ready, that you want to have a company that is worth $10 million, and right now you are working a job that's making $25, don't be afraid of your dream. Slowly make measured steps towards your dream. So that's when you know who you are. You know you're that $10 million business owner. That's who you are. You're gonna make steps into it. You're gonna fail along the way. You're gonna learn lessons along the way. Those lessons will move you closer to your goal as long as you continue forward and start getting information that is gonna
Mm-hmm.
help you find success.
Mm-hmm.
I am a coach. Triveda is a coach. Most people that you are around have information that's going to help you find success. Gravitate towards them. The people that are not on your side, and I'm a firm believer. Me and Ambassador Farron, who just checked in, we had a conversation about this the other day. If you are not in my corner to see me win, you are not in my corner at all.
Exactly.
So sometimes it's understanding that everyone's not going to go with you, nor were they supposed to.
Exactly.
And as you grow, understand you're going to fail. Success is yours as
Exactly.
long as you continue moving forward towards it. You're not going to have all the answers. You're going to get knocked down, but how you get up is what's going to allow you to find the success. Building the CEO is one building block at a time, one habit at a time, one moment at a time. Reflect on your self care, Being self-disciplined does not mean having everything figured out. It's being focused on one thing successfully.
Mm-hmm.
3, the your self-esteem. Understand you are great. You are amazing. You're amazing the way you are. You're amazing as you stepping forward towards who you're going to be. Your
Absolutely.
self-esteem must be aligned with you are great, the greatness. And
Absolutely.
4, the limiting beliefs, understanding the things that in your past, the people in your past, the talks, the conversations, just like Triveda said, were sometimes those things were meant to, so they were meaning to protect you, but sometimes they were meaning to keep you at a level where people could be comfortable with you.
Mm-hmm.
No one has to be comfortable with who you are. Once again, from what Lisa Nichols says, there's no reason for you to limit who you are. You shine so bright that you need shade.
Yes, absolutely. I love that part when she said
Yeah.
that.
You shine bright so when you need shades. And my final word, my final phrase, I just want you guys to be successful. And successful in whatever that means to you. No one can define your success but you. I can provide tools, but my tools are all about working with the CEO that is you. So when you are clear in your actions, empowered by your choices, and ready to own your direction, you can reach out to me at www.sayiampossible.com. That is www.sayiampossible.com. That is what it's about at the end of the day. Because the impossible doesn't exist. The word says, I'm possible. And be up, out, and moving to the greatness we all know lies within who? You CEOs.
I love that. Listen, that is the best way to put it. And you mentioned something that I wrote it out on a post-it note a couple months ago. And this is why I say God always sends everything confirmation in everything that I do. And that is, I have on my little post-it note, it says pray, prepare, and position. Pray for what it is you need from God. Position yourself to receive it, which means you have to prepare for everything that He's going to bless you with. But you have to put forth the actions and the movements to get it done. I want to thank you so much for being here with me tonight because you gave me some nuggets and some things that I can fine tune for myself. Because you got to pray, prepare, and position for whatever it is that God has for you. Now, this is how I close out my show. If you've ever been a part of, if you've ever watched the show, you know this is what I say. And that is stay out of God's business. The only thing God needs you to do is be obedient to what He's called you to do because God is God all by Himself. He doesn't need anything from us, He doesn't need our instructions, He doesn't need anything except for obedience. So I thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I will be back on the 24th and I will have the ladies of Sacred Seeds of Wisdom. It is the second group of ladies who have made this book an amazing project. I am honored to be part of that with Dr. Carolyn. She's the visionary of that book. And when I tell you, y'all, I've just gotten through the first few pages of that book and I did not want to put it down. So tune in come Thursday, July the 24th at 8 p.m. I will be back. Now remember, stay out of God's business. The only thing He needs you to do is be obedient to what He called you to do. Good night.